the Stranger Things podcast, season 2, episode 9, The Gate.
It's not like it was before. It's grown a lot. And I mean, that's considering we can get in there. The place is crawling with those dogs.
Demodogs.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, demodogs. Like Demogorgon and dogs. Like, you put them together, it sounds pretty badass.
How is this important right now?
It's not. I'm sorry.
Hello and welcome to the Stranger Things podcast, a fan podcast dedicated to the Netflix original series,
Stranger Things.
I'm Daryl.
And I'm Maddie.
How is that important right now?
We always do that. I'm really glad you got the last part in there about where he said it's not, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was hoping you would. I meant to mention that.
Oh, that was,
you did.
That was the funniest part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His reaction, yes.
So how you doing, Addie?
Great.
Great.
We had yet another explanation of Dustin's Demodogs as the opening quote.
I know. How I thought about that when you picked it. I was like, wow, she really likes.
He's so funny.
I know. He's one of your favorite characters. He is funny. Dustin is hilarious.
He is my favorite character. Mike's my second favorite, but Finn's my favorite. Finn's my favorite actor.
Well, cool. Well, we are sitting here in our home studio recording this podcast the day after Christmas. Addie, did you have a good Christmas?
Yes, and he's literally my phone background right now.
Did you get anything for Christmas that you might want to mention briefly?
Shout out to Michael, who sent us Christmas gifts and cards. So thank you very much for that.
Yep. And also to Hannah, who also sent us a nice
Lego
little gift
figures
in the mail. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to mention them later in the episode, but it's great to get that front and center. I was thinking about a gift he received from one of our relatives.
So my Uncle Brian and his family, they have also watched Stranger Things. We've mentioned them before. Two of them don't like the show, and I've tried to ignore that. But yeah, so they got me a little like the watch that Mike gives 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's that, and then
back in season 1.
Yeah, in season 1.
Yeah,
and then there were some like pictures included, so I have some pretty lit pictures of season 1 with Mike.
Yeah, it's that really cool Casio calculator style watch that a lot of us had back in the 80s. I had one of those. But, we thought we'd be cool and use it in math class, but then on tests and stuff, because we couldn't use calculators. We had to do it all on paper. Now,
that's stupid.
I know. Now you guys get to use calculators.
Yeah.
Back in my day, where I was forbidden. And so we thought,
you survive school without Google or calculators?
We did the work with our own brains without having to Google it. Anyway, weird. We thought we could get away with bypass the rule by using the calculator watch, but the teachers, they
found out about it quickly.
Oh yeah, they put the kibosh on that.
It's just like the fidget spinners. Once it starts going around, teachers take them away.
Yep, that's right. Well, we're so glad that you've joined us for our podcast today as we wrap up the regular season of season 2. I say regular season because we're going to be doing some things during the off season, which we mentioned last week. But for today, we're talking about season 2, episode 9, The Gate. Addie, who wrote and directed this episode?
This episode is written by the Duffer Brothers, and it's also directed by the Duffer Brothers.
They sound familiar. Who are they related to each other, you think?
No, I think they're neighbors, actually.
Oh, that's probably right. Yeah. Well, that's cool. It's nice that they moved in next door to each other. Can you imagine our world without the neighbors Duffer?
Mm-hmm. The Duffer neighbors.
It doesn't have the same ring.
Their neighborhood is called Duffer. That's where they came up with the idea.
These are the people in your Dufferhood. In your Dufferhood. Okay,
just stop. I bet if I compared the actual song and that, they wouldn't be the same. Just like whenever I sing, it's the same.
Whatever. Okay, well, let's get into it. So today, If this is your first time joining us, welcome. But just as an idea of where we're going, the roadmap for this episode, we're going to have a brief episode recap that we get from the fine folks over at Stranger Things, at the Stranger Things Wiki, which is strangerthings.wikia.com. We'll spend the majority of our time discussing the episode. After we wrap that up, we'll give it an episode rating. And then after that, we will take your feedback and a segment we call Notes from the Upside Down, where we share listener feedback that came in. After that, we've got the quote of the week, and we'll share some news. We've got some really cool news that we're going to be sharing with you today. And then we'll wrap it all up with what might be my favorite meme of the week segment ever. I like it.
You even said it right.
That's right. I like it so much, I even said it right. So there's your teaser for today. Shall we do the recap?
Sure.
As the Dimmodogs surround the house, 11 arrives and stops them. 11 finally reunites with her friends, and they form a plan. Joyce, Jonathan, and Nancy plan to force the Mind Flayer out of Will by exposing him to extreme heat. While they do that, 11 and Hopper plan to head to Hawkins' lab to close the gate. Dustin, Lucas, Mike, and Max are left at the Byers' house under Steve's supervision. The kids want to create a distraction by burning the tunnels and drawing the Dimmodogs away from the gate, but Steve refuses. Billy arrives looking for Max and briefly fights with Steve. Eventually, Billy in turn is sedated by Max. The kids take Billy's car and head for the tunnels with an unconscious Steve. Reaching the tunnels, they head in and soak the place in gasoline and then start burning it, causing the Dimmodogs to come after them, leaving the gate clear, also affecting Will as well. On the way out, they encounter Dart. Dustin calms him long enough for them to all pass by unharmed. The Mind Flayer is successfully expelled from Will, and Hopper defends 11 from the Dimmodogs as she closes the gate, remembering all the trauma she went through to empower herself to seal the gate. Despite the Mind Flayer's attempts, 11 closes the portal she opened, ending the threat of the Upside Down once and for all. A month later, Maury Ballman watches as Hawkins' lab is shut down in the wake of the revelations. Barb is given a proper funeral. Hopper meets with Dr. Owens, who gives him a forged birth certificate for 11, which says she is Hopper's daughter. At school, the kids attend the Snowball. In the Upside Down, the Mind Flayer is still alive and looms over the school. All right, recap over. That means it is time for some episode discussion.
That was me dabbing without my hands.
It was
because I'm holding
a handless dab. You are. We got a brand new pup character in, fresh from eBay, and it is Punk L.
It's so cool. She has the blood on her face. She has the really detailed box of Eggos. She even has the sock over her pants.
Pants, yeah. She's got blood on her face. She's a big disgrace. All right, so let's talk about the beginning of this episode. Addison, I think you should do the honors of how this episode began.
So Mike and 11 greet each other and they just like hug and stuff. And then, and stuff. And then Mike confronts Hopper about Elle because they made it extremely apparent that they were together for the past year.
Uh-huh.
So he gets upset, obviously, because like I would be upset too. And then he just like breaks down, starts crying, and then Hopper's just like comforting him. I feel so bad for him. I'm just like, Mike, why?
Wow. So I'm really surprised the approach you took to mentioning those two scenes. Those were two scenes and you made it sound like they were just one. I thought you were going to camp out on the Mike and Elle embrace moment there for a minute. What'd you think of that? I mean,
I thought it was great. They were just like, and then they just hug and it's great. Like,
yeah.
We should be doing a live stream right now because my facial expressions for this episode specifically are just going to be like...
Yeah, that's true. We chose not to do the live stream because it's so late today. Yeah, it was cool. Even for someone who's not shipping them the way you are, I think it's great that they like each other and all that. But obviously the way I feel about them is it's much different than you do. But anyway, I thought it was great. It was really cool. When Mike, so yeah, you're right. It becomes really obvious to Mike that Hopper has been hiding 11 for the past year. Mike flips out. Hopper takes him to the back room to kind of chat about it. I thought Mike was really overreacting. I can imagine he was emotional and needed a lot. He needed time to probably process. Like, he was just going off of raw emotion. I think that was the problem. But he's like cussing out Hopper and hitting him and stuff like that. I don't know. I thought it was an overreaction. I could understand his frustration, but no big deal. But I don't know. What did you think about it?
I didn't think he overreacted. I think Mike is fine the way he is. I liked the scene. I like how Hopper like realized he was wrong and he was just like, okay, sorry, kid. And then he just like hugs him and stuff. And then he's just like crying. And I'm like, my poor child. Yeah.
It was great. No, I agree. It was really cool. I thought Hopper was great the way he let Mike kind of vent. And yeah, that was cool. I don't know. I didn't expect Mike to be that upset and to like lash out that much.
What did you expect? Just like, oh, you've been hiding her? Okay,
no, I mean,
cool.
I expect him to be upset, but not like punching and cursing at the local police officer about it. I'm still surprised at the lack of a respect for authority that a lot of the kids in this I'm putting myself back in I know the respect for authority in today's culture is not what it was, especially for police, is not what it was when I was a kid. But I cannot imagine, myself in any situation where I would go up to the local sheriff or police chief and start cursing him out and punching him. I mean, I can't imagine that scenario ever occurring. I think that's where I'm struggling to really understand.
Well, whenever your magical friend soulmate is being hidden for a year, I think it would be a little bit different.
My magical friend soulmate. And I think that's important to mention too, because this is a magical make-believe fantastical world.
This is not magical or make-believe at all. What are you talking about?
You just said she was magical.
No, her character is not the show.
That's what I mean. Like, okay, let's not camp out here.
Don't fight me on this.
Okay. All right. So what happens next, I guess, is what I'm going to ask you.
So then 11 just like walks up to Dustin. She just like pokes his mouth and he's just like, what? And she's like, you have teeth. And he's just like, grr. I can't do the noise.
I can't do it either. I wish he would stop doing it. I'm hoping at the end of the episode when Steve was like, dude, don't do that. I hope that was like him finally getting in his head that annoys people.
I think it's adorable. I don't see the problem with it. I think it's cute. He's just
dorky. Like you don't get girls by making that noise.
Well, yeah, but I think it's adorable.
That's part of the reason girls at the dance walk away from him. But we'll get to that later. I'm just saying.
You're so mean.
I'm just saying.
Be nice to him. Ow, my ear hurts from screaming.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so then Max is just like, hi, you must be 11. I've heard a lot about you. And she just like puts her hand out and then 11 just totally disses her. It's so funny. She just like yeet.
That was awesome.
She goes straight to Joyce.
And we never really get to see 11 and Max. Like, that's the only screen time they have. We don't get anything else from them. And so when you think about, because we know that Max really seems to admire and think that 11 is cool. 11 only has that one snapshot of a moment from the gym when she saw Max and Mike together. And that's why she treats Max this way. So I was kind of hoping we'd get another scene with Max and 11. We're going to have to wait till another season for that. This one was hilarious, though, when 11's like, I don't even acknowledge your existence. I'm walking on by.
This is the thing I accidentally spoiled you on last week, because I thought it happened in episode 8. I thought it was like the very end of episode 8.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was really funny whenever 11 just totally disses Max, and Dad's like, what? That didn't happen. Yeah. I was like, oh crap, sorry.
I'm so glad you put this next note in here. I almost did, and I thought, well, I won't. But 11 is still walking around with the blood dripping from her nose. It's not like actively running. It's just there.
Yeah, it bothers me. It's obviously still wet. And like, I don't know. I don't even like having like a single drop of water on me. It bothers me. I don't understand how she hasn't wiped it off yet.
I completely agree. It's just weird.
Ask for a tissue or something,
Or just
please.
use your sleeve. She's done that before.
I mean, it's close enough to your nose already. Just yeet.
You're awesome, Maddie.
I know.
Okay. So, scene changes to the Wazowski house. And
Wheeler.
That's what I said.
No, it's not.
Where Mike Wazowski lives.
Okay, so now at the Wheeler house, Karen, which is Nancy's mom,
That's right.
is taking a nice relaxing bath with the candles, reading a romance novel. And here's something that I saw. It looks like Billy on the front cover.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I screenshotted that directly from Netflix, so I don't know why it didn't turn black, but I guess on Mac it doesn't, but on your phone it does. Whenever you screenshot Netflix.
Yeah, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, I'm going to get a better shot of that. That's a great find because this scene, it's funny. When Billy comes to the door, she gets to the door. She's obviously upset because Ted is asleep.
I know that bothered me. Okay, so this is my note.
Okay.
So Ted is being annoying, and Karen, she's just trying to relax. Like, she's a mom, she needs to relax. And then he couldn't wake up for 2 minutes to go answer the stupid door. What's wrong with him?
Well, this one actually didn't bother me on Ted because if he's legit asleep, some people are heavy sleepers, and he may not have heard the phone ringing. Yeah, it's not like when he was. Yeah, sorry. It's not. Well, here's why I said phone. It's not like when he was relaxing in the living room that time, and she's just gabbing away on the phone, and she's like, "Ted, get the door." You know, that's different. Although she could have just as easily got up from what she was doing and got in the door. But he's legit asleep. So I know I've kind of railed on the way that they've written Ted's character, but in this instance, I was like, okay. That's fine.
No, he bothers me.
People are heavy
like
sleepers.
him.
What did bother me was so the scene with Billy and Karen. It was funny.
It was really funny.
They're
just
flirting
awkward.
and all that stuff, but completely awkward. And when you reverse the genders here, if that was Ted flirting with some high school girl that came to the door, then it would have been received in a completely different way. And it's the same. I mean, I don't know. It was just icky. But
okay.
But funny. I'm not saying it wasn't funny. It
was really funny and like extremely awkward because you can tell that Billy was just flirting for like to get something he wanted, which was the buyer's house number or like to find a sister. And he didn't actually care. And then she's just like, yeah, he's cute. But like, so I Googled their ages. And this is them in real life, obviously, and not the show. But Kara, who plays Karen, she's 43. And Dacre is 23. So there's a 20-year difference there. So, all right then.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. So the screen cap that you have in our notes, we'll put that on our website for our show notes for this episode, which is goldenspiralmedia.com/Stranger Things. So
self promo.
Yeah, well, just so people can see it. So the romance novel she's reading, what you were saying is it looks like the cover has a guy on there that looks a whole lot like Billy. So, you know, she's reading this romance novel, and now this guy comes to her door who, you know, is dreamy like the guy on the cover of the book she's reading.
No one says dreamy.
Yeah. So it does make it a little bit more palatable that she would behave this way towards Billy. It doesn't make it any more less cringy, but
cringy, to
use one of your words. Okay, I just found a good screen cap of it. So we'll put this on. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see. I don't know if they made this, if this is a real book or if it's a mock-up they made for the show, but it definitely favors Billy. That's for sure. Good find, Addie. Way to go.
Thanks.
Okay. So back at the Byers house, the whole gang is there. The gang that was, obviously they're at the end of the last episode. And so they're coming up with their plan for attack. Elle says that she will go and close the gate. And they're talking about when they close the gate, it's going to kill what's their new name for it? The Mind Flayer. And all of everything it has control over. And finally, someone speaks up. I think it was Mike. And it's like, wait a second. I think that might kill Will at the same time. We kind of need to be concerned about that, which, I was like last episode, I was like, why is nobody mentioning this? Well, finally, somebody thinks of it.
Of course it's Mike, because Mike's the smart one. Like, he was the one that figured out back in season 1, he was the one that figured out what 11 meant by turning the game board upside down. He's the smart one.
Well, yes, he is. I think all the boys, the entire cast of kids are particularly intelligent.
That's true.
But you're right. Yeah, he's very perceptive. So anyway, I was glad that they finally came up with that idea. What I didn't, all season I'm going, okay, how are they going to free Will from the shadow monster? And we talked about a few episodes ago how Emily and I were chatting and she talked about how that the shadow monster in his relationship with Will reminded her of an episode of Fringe. And in that episode, the boy had to let go of the fungus. Like, it wasn't so much that the fungus had a hold on him. It was that he was allowing the fungus to have a hold on him. And so he just had to emotionally let go. And that's what allowed that boy to be separated from the fungus. But I knew that certainly wasn't going to be a viable solution here. Will was being held captive against his will. No pun intended.
Will.
Yeah. So it seems obvious now, looking in hindsight, like using heat was the best way to separate the two, but I didn't see it coming. So do you recall, did you have any ideas on how they might separate the two, or did you see it coming?
No, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. So that's good. I'm glad I didn't see that, because there's some of the stuff that's going to happen in this episode that I did see coming. I thought it was actually pretty obvious. This was not one of them. Maybe it was obvious. It wasn't obvious to me. So good on the writers, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So once they decide that's going to be their plan of attack, they need to figure out a way to heat Will up. And so this becomes a search for space heaters and other heating devices, which leads Nancy and Steve out in this trash heap. I'm assuming it's all the trash that they took out of the shed. Like, they had to dump it out somewhere.
I didn't think of that.
They're looking for space heaters. And Steve basically acknowledges he's a terrible boyfriend, a really good babysitter.
No, that was my note. So Steve says, so Steve's like, you should go with Jonathan. I'm a bad boyfriend, but like, he calls himself up for being a babysitter.
Yeah.
So then they like break up, and she's just like, Steve, hey. And then he just like walks away.
Yeah.
Felicia.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, we've seen them come kind of full circle now in their relationship. So yeah, are you okay with them having broken up? I mean, because you're team Jonathan, or you're team Steve. Excuse me.
You got it right the first time.
I don't think I did.
I don't know. Because I guess they weren't like, I don't know if they were like officially breaking up then. I thought they were already broken up, and they broke up at the Halloween party.
Well, yeah, you could make that argument, or in the hallway or the alleyway the next day after the Halloween party. I think this was just him saying, because before he didn't really, like, she wanted to break up, but he didn't. And I think this was his way of saying, I'm okay with it. Not that it takes both people to be okay with it in order to officially break up, but
yeah, I guess so. But I don't know. I kind of feel bad for both of them, but I mean, not Jonathan, but like, okay, I also kind of feel bad for Jonathan because like he didn't want to get in between their relationship.
Yeah.
And he did.
Did he?
Yeah, that's why. Because he ended up taking her home on the night of the party, and
he stepped up.
Well, yeah.
It was like,
and he said it was Steve that took her home because he didn't want to get in between them, and then he ended up getting in between them.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think Jonathan did anything wrong.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying he did anything wrong, but I just kind of feel bad for all of them.
We'll see how it turns out. I mean, I honestly still feel like Steve is a better match for Nancy than Jonathan is. What do you think?
I mean, Steve's changed a lot since season 1.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not as bad as he was in season 1.
Yeah, this Steve, I think, although it was great, you know, at the end when you see Nancy and Jonathan at the snowball. So I'm okay with either way, but I don't know. I just feel like in the end, when it's all said and done, I wouldn't be surprised if it's still Nancy and Steve.
Yeah, because she still has like some sort of feeling towards him, because like whenever they were at the thing, like the looking for the heater, she was just like, Steve.
Yeah, I think she does still have feelings for him. She's, and that's natural too. Even if you break up with someone, I mean, unless it's a really bad break, you still kind of have some feelings, or at least you recognize the feelings you once have, and there's that love lost type of feeling. So anyway, we'll see how it plays out. Okay. Another great scene talking about relationships. On the way to the lab, Hopper and Eleven have a chat. And we had seen him apologize to her via the CB radio. And of course, she heard that message. They both have had time to cool off, and a lot of things have happened to each of them since they last spoke. So they're in a lot of ways different people in this scene than they were the last time they spoke. I just loved this scene. It was beautiful. Millie did a wonderful job. Although the editing, you could see sometimes where she had tears in her eyes and other times she didn't, because, you know, they take so many different takes of this and it's hard to be consistent on that. That was really my only beef with this.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I kind of was anal about that, I think. So it was great. I don't know. What were your thoughts on this whole scene and what was said?
I like how they made up at the end, and they were just like, okay, yeah, and they're both like they're cool with each other now, and they're not like fighting anymore. Mm-hmm. And I like how 11 like just holds his hand like at the end, because I don't know, it's just, if I were in her place, I would be really scared for what's about to happen, because she's, you know, going to close a big gate,
right?
That she opened. But I'm guessing, like, I don't know, maybe that was to also kind of take her mind off of everything.
Holding his hand, you mean?
No, just like the whole conversation.
Oh, well, maybe, or maybe he just felt like, in case this goes south and they don't make it out alive, he wanted to tell her, you know, the things he should have said before. But I just loved it. I felt like now that she's been to Chicago, and now that sees the world ending again, and they've both had a chance to cool off, I just feel like they have a new appreciation for each other. He saw her come home or come back to Hawkins, and which he didn't know she'd left at that point, kill the Demodogs, rescue them from the buyer's house. And I just think that he's realizing that, and this is the struggle of every parent. And that is, what's the balance between protecting those you love, your children that you're responsible for, and allowing them to develop and become their own person? And you know that when you allow them to be their own person, they're going to make mistakes, and you want to protect them. You want them to not feel pain. You know, you just want to be able to tell them everything and them take you at your word and save them from all the pain and misery mistakes that you went through. And that's all he was trying to do with her in the cabin. But at the same time, it was a mistake. Mistakes were made. They both broke the rule of not being stupid. And so anyway, I just feel like this was a beautiful scene. They both have a better appreciation for the other person and a stronger bond because of it. And that came by just being open and truthful with each other, acknowledging the mistakes and then moving forward with that. And that's really what relationships are built on. So anyway, I just thought this was fantastic. Well, maybe my favorite scene of the entire episode.
Okay. It shows Steve putting the Demodog in the fridge. And Dustin's just like in charge of him, just like put it in the fridge, and he's like cleaning everything out. And Steve's like, "You're gonna have to explain this to Mrs. Byers."
Yeah, I hated this scene.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought it was so funny.
I'm not saying it wasn't funny. I just feel bad for Joyce. Has been through so much. They don't have a lot of money. Dustin just goes in there, throws all of their food, which is not cheap, out onto the floor so they can store this dead Demodog. Now when Joyce gets home, she's not going to have food for her family. She's going to have to replace what was in there. I know I'm going like major adult here and not just going with the show.
Yeah, you are.
And have a dead Demogorgon. She's going to have to probably replace the entire fridge. Like, I don't know. I hated it for her. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's the last thing that Joyce is going to need to deal with. So it's a very childish thing to do. It's like something that, because kids don't think about stuff like that. We're all stupid when we're that age. We do stupid things. So I have no problem with Dustin doing it. I just was, as an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, poor Joyce. That's the last thing she needed to deal with.
Maybe she has a second fridge.
Nice inside joke there. Okay. So, but yeah, but what, and again, so what? When we next see Stranger Things, it's going to be a year in the future at least. So I don't know. I didn't really see the purpose of this scene, to be honest with you. Maybe they'll bring it back.
I don't know. Maybe he'll try to take it to Mr. Clark again.
Maybe he will. Yeah. And maybe there'll be a reference to it. Remember that Demodog I showed you or something like that? Okay. So for the remainder of the episode, I'm going to refer to Steve and the kids as the bench warmers, going with Steve's analogy and all that stuff. Terrible analogy as it was, they acknowledged. Yeah. But just to kind of, so as we're talking about the different groups, this is the bench warmer group. So
Finn was just like, this isn't a stupid sports game.
Yeah, you mean Mike?
His name is Finn in real life.
I'm aware. So the bench warmers want to go to the tunnels and create a diversion. Steve is completely against it. As their babysitter, he is responsible for their lives, and he's completely against it. And this was pretty funny.
The mom. Yeah. And then Billy shows up, and then Steve goes out there and tries to protect them, and then they're all looking through the window, and Dustin's just like, you think he saw us? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, why would Max be looking at the window? You think she would be like smarter than that?
Yeah.
Like,
well, we just talked about how smart all the kids are, and this was pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all broke Hopper's rule.
So Steve and Billy. Okay. Well, first off, Billy attacks Lucas. Now, we've talked all season about how Billy doesn't seem to have any redeemable qualities. We got to see a peek in last episode as to why he is the way he is. But there is Lucas is in 8th grade and Billy is probably a senior. So we're talking about 5 years difference here, huge size difference. And I mean, Billy is a strong kid. He's maybe the biggest kid in his class in terms of physique and stuff like that. I mean, among them, I don't know. This was completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I wanted to go and stand between those two guys and stand up for Lucas, which I know Steve does, but
like, I'm glad Lucas is like punches him and like gets him back, and then like he gets off.
Lucas did well. Kicked him in the nads and tried to and got him off of him.
He was just like, yeet.
Yeah, and that's what we've told you too. If a boy gets you into that situation, that's the way you do it. So good on Lucas.
Okay, so then, if you heard me watching this earlier, you could probably hear all my sound effects, and because I was watching it with headphones, I didn't know how loud I was, and it was just like the whole time, and I was just like sitting like this, like with my hands in front of my mouth, just like okay, even though I knew it was gonna happen, but like still, it's intense. Yeah, I thought it was a good scene, but like. I was mad that he attacked Lucas, like, because, I don't know, I kind of think Billy's racist, but, like...
I'm thinking that, too.
Because he hasn't showed, like, any real reason as to why...
Like, I didn't want to believe that, but now I'm like, I don't know what else to believe. Why? Why else? He's not that way with any of the other kids. Of course, maybe he just realizes Max, has an eye for Lucas, and if it was, Mike, then he would be treating Mike the same way, but we don't know that. So,
It better not be Mike. But
Did you think that Steve was going to win this fight at any point? Did you think Steve was going to win?
Yeah, at first I did.
Yeah, me too. Until that plate to the forehead. That's what
Yeah.
that was the turn the tide right there.
Yeah, you don't just go into someone's house and then like break their plate.
Exactly. Joyce doesn't have a lot of money. Now she has to replace her dinnerware and her refrigerator. Yeah, I thought Steve was going to do it. But man, once he took the plate to the noggin, it went downhill fast for
I want to know why none of the kids until like they were all just standing there like screaming at them, just like, yeah, go Steve. And like none of them, thought to help, like get a plate and smash it on Billy's head,
Yeah.
That would have been funny if Mike did that.
Well, they did pretty well. I mean, getting the tranquilizer into Billy was pretty
that was
awesome.
pretty harsh.
Yeah.
Like she's just like yeet and stabs her brother.
Yeah. And then she takes the spiked bat and beats up Joyce's floor. Joyce. Poor Joyce. She's going to come home and go, what the heck happened to my house? Steve,
I am unhiring you.
worst babysitter ever. Yeah, but this was great. When Billy finally got it and she hits the bat a little too close to home. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah, that was good. She just like owned him and then stole his keys.
Yeah, I have to give it up to Max because she has a lot of pent up rage toward him. He threatens her. You know what happens when you disobey and things like that. Because, we talked earlier in the season about her skateboard being broken.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
You don't know for sure. It could have broken doing any number of things like tricks and stuff, but we can probably safely assume that he broke it because he was being a jerk face. So, and that's the thing. She had a choice of what to do there, and she handled herself really well. So, good job, Max.
Yep, she totally didn't overreact at all. You were just talking about how dangerous it was to like inject Will.
Yeah.
And then she just like stabs him with it.
It was an emergency situation.
I was just thinking about how much that would have hurt.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, poor Billy.
Yeah. By the way, I mentioned Linda in our last episode about how I'm sure she was cringing. She posted a meme on our Facebook page this week about nurses and the needles and stuff like that. So she said that, I don't remember her exact words, but basically she was glad that I had mentioned it because it was definitely something that made her cringe. So
I don't know. Maybe they make them extra long for like effect. Like
definitely.
If it's not that long, then you're not going to see it. Just like they make snowflakes extra big and rain extra big.
That's a good point. I think it's definitely for dramatic effect, but maybe for visual, being able to see it on camera too. You mentioned that they still Billy's keys and take off running or take off towards the tunnel.
Driving.
Yeah. I thought it was great when she gets them there safely. That was funny.
She's the zoomer.
Yeah, she's their zoomer. So there you go. She's like, I told you, I'm the zoomer. So good on her.
Yeah, I forgot who it was. I think it was Dustin who said she's driven before, or Lucas. I think it was one of them who said she's driven before, and then the other one was like, in a parking lot.
Right.
It counts. Me too.
Yeah, you've driven in a parking lot.
Yep, I can now safely drive people to Demogorgon holes.
Well, if we ever get attacked by Demodogs or Demogorgons, I'll look for you to do the driving.
Okay.
Deal?
Okay, I get to be the zoomer.
Okay.
That's not even a thing. It is now. Okay, anyway. Hopper and 11 get to the lab, and then she like steps out and kind of like looks at the lab, and I feel so bad for her when she sees the lab, all the bad memories come back to her.
Yeah.
And you just see like all the scenes from season 1, and I just feel so bad for her. Like, it must be hard going back in there after what happened.
Yeah, and I hadn't even thought about that until that. I'm so glad they put those flashback scenes in there because this is the first time that she's gone back to the lab since she escaped from the lab. So you can imagine what would be flooding through her mind as she stood there and stared at that building. So I'm really glad they did that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So back at the tunnels, the kids go down, and of course Steve too. Dustin gets sprayed, and he gets some in his mouth. Now, earlier in the season, Hopper got sprayed and ingested some of it. Even was throwing up and all that. So what happened with Dustin? Not nearly as bad as what happened to Hopper. With Hopper, the season's now over, and there's nothing that we've seen happen about it. Right? There was no follow up with that. Should Dustin be worried? And I guess as a follow up, should Hopper be worried? Are those just dead and gone now? Moved on from those plot points, or are those things that we need to keep in mind for the future?
I don't know, because now that you mentioned that it happened to Hopper and nothing happened to him, I don't know, but maybe the effects take a while. Because, I don't know, a year later from what happened in season 1, Will started seeing the shadow monster.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll happen a year later, so in season 3.
Yeah, maybe. And, we saw Will throw up the slug a month later at the end of season 1. But what happened with Will and what happened with Hopper, we've got 3 levels of infestation here, I guess, or ingestion. Will had the tentacle down his throat. Hopper ingested a little bit of the spray. Dustin got a little bit of the spray in his mouth, and I don't think he ever actually ingested it beyond that. So
I thought it was really funny when he got it in his mouth. He was just spitting and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he sits up and he's like, I'm okay. And they're just like, ugh,
yeah.
You wasted our time.
Yeah, it wasn't legit that he had reason to act that way, but I was with him. So I don't know. I don't think Dustin has anything to worry about. Hopper, maybe. We'll see. At the same time, I think they'll probably drop it, but we'll see.
I hope Will and 11 actually meet for real, because I don't think they've actually met yet. Because all season 1 they were separated, and then all this season they were also separated.
Yeah, I mean, she saw him when he was still unconscious at the Byers' house.
But he was unconscious.
Right, exactly. So yeah, that's a good point. They're at the dance together, but we don't see them talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Speaking of things I'm glad you brought up, Dr. Owens is injured but not bobified in the stairwell.
Bobified.
So he's still alive. Elle and Hopper happen upon him. So I speculated last week that he was still alive because we didn't see the body.
Yeah, I completely forgot about this scene.
Oh, really?
That's how I answered, because I didn't think he showed up for the rest of the season. And then this scene happened. I was like, what?
He's in 2 scenes in this episode.
Yeah. I forgot about that. I forgot about both of those.
Well, I mean, that's fine. And that's one reason why I'm glad we let you watch it the way you did, where you only got to watch it one time so that you would forget details, especially as the season progressed, and it would make for more open dialogue. So I think that was a good move.
No.
Yes, it was.
No.
So I loved what Hopper did here. A very tactical move. I'm saving your life. Oh, by the way, this is 11. Yeah, I've been hiding her. Maybe we can, get her a normal life when we get out of this. So, and we'll come back to this in the second scene with Dr. Owens, but really cool. When he said those things, I was like, yes, I was pumping my hand, fist, whatever, really excited. Not like that. No one does that. No one does that. Stop doing that. Okay. Well, Addie's being awkward. I'm going to get us back to the cabin. Will is taken to the cabin. Nancy, Jonathan, Joyce, Will all go to the cabin, surround Will with space heaters, and it is just torturing him. I loved these scenes because it was Noah Schnapp was great. But
of course he was.
You have Jonathan wanting to turn the heaters down and even turn them off. And Joyce is persevering.
She's like, no.
Yeah, she's thinking about Bob. We see some flashbacks of Bob. I hope it doesn't suck that night. And
just like the Demogorgon sucked his blood out.
That's a bit ironic, isn't it? He did get Okay.
Yeet.
Anyway.
I thought it was awesome how it showed Nancy lighting the match. Because she just like had it in front of her face and then she just like yeets it into the fire. I don't know. Just like go rewatch that like one clip. It was great. I don't know. I liked it.
Okay. Yeah. What did you think about in general the scenes with in the cabin with all of them?
Oh, that was a good idea that they took him to the cabin because then he actually wouldn't know where it was. Like, it didn't have to disguise it or anything. And then,
yeah, it was really smart. I loved how they tied the cabin back in. Again, like we did last week with the Morse code. I was like, oh, I didn't know that we'd get another payoff. Same with the cabin. Like, it was so good that they brought that in and gave it a different purpose than what we'd seen earlier in the season. Really cool.
Yeah, and it makes more sense that 11, like, it just gives another reason why the Duffer Brothers would have had 11 leave the cabin and like meet back up with Hopper. Because if he knew that she wasn't there, then they could go do their thing there and not put 11 in danger.
Yeah, it was great. It makes you kind of go, man, I wish they had thought of this before Will had to suffer so much. Like when he first says he likes it cold, what if she had said, oh yeah? I'm going to burn that sucker out of you.
Oh, does it now? Go take a bath. The water is definitely not boiling.
Right. Yeah. But you know, you learn about these things, and I don't think there's any reason why she would have made that decision earlier in the season. But from the sake of hindsight, and the sake of Will, you kind of wish that they would have thought about that sooner. But anyway, what about when Nancy pokes Will with like the red hot fire poker?
I felt so bad for him, but yeah. I don't think Will felt it. I think that only the monster did. Because whenever he got back up, he wasn't, dying of pain.
Yeah.
In that area, but I thought it was cool the way they tied him down. Like they put the ropes under the bed and they like had his wrists tied up. So you couldn't see like the long part of the rope, just his wrist. I don't know. I thought it was so cool just the way they did that. I don't know why. I mean, all they did was put the rope under the bed and not over it. I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an intense group of scenes. They didn't do them all at once. They kind of salted these things in and you get a little bit. But yeah, it was so good. And then when the monster leaves him, like Jonathan is about to step in and insist that they stop. Nancy hits him with the poker, and then the
poker,
and then she starts seeing it come through the neck, and then
no, first she sees it through the neck, and then so Jonathan's like, no, turn it off, and then she's like, Jonathan, his neck, and then Joyce goes over there and he starts choking her, and then that's when
that's when she gets the poker.
Yeah, the stabby thingy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. The graphics in this scene when the monster comes flying out.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool. It looked like a little tornado.
Yeah, that was really cool. One of my favorite effects they've done. Well, we get this convergence of these three scenes. One is this cabin scene that we're talking about. The second is Hopper arriving at the control room. And the third is in the tunnels. The benchwarmers come to that main area that they're looking for, and they start setting fire to that room. So this was really cool because all this is happening at the same time. Like the Demodogs leave the lab to go to the tunnels. The smoke monster or the shadow monster leaves Will. I don't know. It was just a really good, like the intensity of the episode is really ramping up as all these things are happening at the same time. So it was cool. I loved it. I loved how like the episode is just building, and this is like the turning point. Like everything kind of climaxes at this point. I mean, the climax is really when Elle has the showdown with the monster, but this is like the big turning point. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I like how it showed them like pouring and spraying gas everywhere, or, like the gasoline. I don't know. I always like that in like movies and TV shows when they show people pouring gasoline on things. I don't know, because it's just like, ooh, fire.
So earlier in the season, Justina, who does a fantastic job creating the poll questions of the week over on our website, had a poll question. I don't remember how she worded the question.
Would she like save the party?
Dart?
Or like something like or would she like step back up and would Dart like end up protecting Dustin since he was good to him?
Something like that. Yeah. I think I voted no. Like Dart was not going to show mercy. What did you vote on that, or what were your thoughts on that?
I didn't vote on it, but I knew the answer was yes. I remembered that part.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised. I mean, kind of not. I mean, they did show Dustin building this relationship with Dart earlier in the season, so it's no surprise, but I don't know. I just figured he's a Demogorgon controlled by the shadow monster. No mercy. But, and I still don't know that there was mercy given as much as, ooh, food. Oh, they're gone. Oh, well, food, you know. So, like, if he hadn't had the nougat, I don't know what would have happened. So, the bottom line is Dustin gives Dart some Three Musketeers,
not nougat. And
he lets them pass. They don't get out of the tunnels in time because of, simultaneous to that, 11 is closing the gate. So then the dogs get called back to the gate, and you think not everyone is getting, I think it was Steve and was it Mike that are still down in the tunnel?
No, Steve and Dustin. Okay.
And the dogs just keep blowing on by. Were you surprised by that, or how did you feel about that scene as the dogs just blow on by?
At first I was like, no, Dustin's gonna die. Colby can't be right about this.
I forgot about that prediction. I've been like the first time me watching this entire season, like I was watching Dustin the whole time, just like, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die. But yeah, I'm surprised. And then I was like, how are they not like falling? And then I noticed that Steve was holding on to him and he was like holding the rope. So I was like, oh, okay, that's how. Yeah, it was intense for sure. So
I thought they were going to get like eaten. I thought it was going to be like 1 or 2, not like 50.
Yeah, there were a ton of them. So they do end up getting away. At the gate, this was so good. Okay. Hopper and Elle lower themselves down into the abyss, or whatever you want to call that. And I just loved the music here. I don't know, what song was this? This was extremely
It's called Levitation by Carl Dixon and Michael Stein.
Levitation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes sense.
Knows all the sounds or the songs on the soundtrack.
Yeah. So let me ask you, they get down there, 11 starts using her powers on the gate. It's kind of closing, and then she channels her memories. She remembers what 8 told her, and she starts thinking about scenes with Papa and other things. Although she's remembering the scene of Papa, which was actually 8 pretending to be Papa, which that kind of bugged me, instead of her really being motivated by the real scenes with Papa. I don't know.
I'm surprised they didn't.
What did you think about all that particular scene right there?
Yeah, I'm surprised she didn't use Max and Mike as motivation again.
Yeah, that's a good point. Did it bother you that they showed Elle being that conversation with 8? Or I guess really a better way to ask that question is, did this scene with 11 reflecting on the lessons from 8 help justify episode 7 or make episode 7 better? Or did that, I don't know. I guess I'll leave
I think it helped because I don't think she already like knew that stuff. So like, how was she supposed to close that gigantic gate? I mean, obviously 8 didn't know that, but it helped her like have more power. So like even in episode 8 of season 1, whenever she was killing the Demogorgon after the help of Lucas and its wrist rocket, it didn't show her like having anything to be like upset about. So maybe she could have like killed it faster, or maybe have some like energy left over if she just like channeled all her anger towards it. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love that you say that. So do you think that she would have been able to close the gate if she had never gone to Chicago and interacted with 8?
I think maybe she would have, but she would have been like hurt more than she was, because obviously she was really weak after, because she like fell and stuff, and I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have been like a stronger reaction, or it would have taken longer or something, or like wouldn't have been as strong.
But if it had taken longer, you remember the shadow monster was coming out of the
and she was holding that back too.
So I mean, did she have the power to defeat the shadow monster without going to 8? Yes, but did 8 help her understand how to better channel and be more efficient with her powers?
Yeah, it was more like effective.
Yeah. So I think that definitely played a positive role and helps justify that episode. Again, we liked the episode. I think we have a better understanding now of why people didn't like it now that we've seen the whole season. I won't speak for you, Addie, but okay. I think we agree on that. She gets the double nosebleed, which we've never seen before.
Are you sure?
Not that I recall. I could be wrong. Absolutely could be wrong on that.
I don't know. Because wasn't she also bleeding from like her earlobes?
We did see that in season 1. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to this time. It would make sense if she was.
I might have been thinking about whenever she killed Hillary Clinton and all her agents.
Oh, in the hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that took a lot out of her. Yeah, you're right. She may have been double nose bleeding.
Well, no, not her nose bleeding, but like Hillary Clinton and everybody else is like double nose bleeding because she was like squeezing their guts out.
And they were bleeding from the eyes and stuff too.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah,
that was just a really good scene.
But it's interesting that you identified the song here as Levitation, because this was so cool. She brings up her second hand and bleeding from nostrils, screaming, yep. And then she levitates.
Like, that's a new...
Yeah.
Like, first the bleeding, then both hands, and then levitating. Just, like, that's a new power thing. I mean, not like... That's a new form of her channeling her powers. Like,
right.
Word to word.
Yeah. It was... So the first time I watched the episode, we get to this scene, and it's not exciting to me. Like... The entire season, what I expected to happen was it would end with 11, maybe in combination with 8, confronting the shadow monster and defeating it, sending it back through its hole, or just obliterating it altogether like she did the Demogorgon last season. So we get here, and that's what happens, and I'm like, that's great, but I mean, that was totally predictable, and it was disappointing to me. And in a way, that still holds true. That's part of the reason when we get to our episode ratings here shortly, that's a big part of the reason why I gave it the rating I did. However, I did give my rating a boost after my second rewatch because I appreciated more what was going on here, the things with the nosebleeds and the levitation and the second hand and all that was going on. And it was an awesome scene.
And then, as soon as it was over, she fell, and Hopper was just comforting her.
Yeah, exactly. That was great. I love that. So, in second watch, this scene really, I don't know that could have been better. It was maybe. Did I want them to be a less predictable ending? Yes, but at the same time, this was pretty freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, did you have any other thoughts on it?
If it did end with how you wanted it to, with 8.
I'm not saying I wanted it to. I'm just saying that's one thing that seemed like it would have been obvious.
Well, okay. So anyway, if it did end like that and Hopper wasn't there, then they would have been destroyed by the Demodogs because they were all climbing up and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was a good thing Hopper was there with his gun.
Yeah. No question.
Which means it doesn't just take 11's powers to destroy one. And it definitely could have been the wrist rocket that pushed him against the wall. So.
Okay. Wow. We're still having this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Just it's not just nougat.
I love you. All right.
No, you don't.
I do.
No, you said it. You hated me.
That is not what I meant to say.
Oh, you said it.
So. Okay, so she goes and she forces it back through the gate. The gate closes. All the dogs fall dead.
I thought that was so cool. Whenever all the demodogs just like start falling down like that.
It's raining dogs. Hallelujah.
It's raining dogs. Amen. But yeah, so it kind of reminds me of this other show called The 100. And it's, I don't know. I like that show. That's like probably my second favorite show. Season 1 is a lot better than season 2, by the way. But yeah, because there was like a scene in there with all like bodies and just like yeet. And yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't watched The 100. Oh, by the way, there's an episode of The 100 and Finn Wolfhard's in it. Because like, I was just like, I never like pay attention to the credits. But then like after I noticed Finn's name and I was like, did that just say Finn Wolfhard? And so sure enough, I went back and I was like, it said Finn Wolfhard. So I was like, where is he? And then, it's kind of difficult to notice him, but like once you see his name on there, you definitely know it's him. Like his little, he's so cute. And just like yeah. I love Finn.
We know. Okay. Well, speaking of loving Finn, 1 month later, the military has moved in and shut down the lab. We're getting to the Finn part, by the way.
I love that.
Yeah.
That they finally shut it down. They got justice for Barb, which everybody was hoping to get justice for Barb. So I'm glad that the Duffer Brothers listened to the people and included that. I mean, they still kind of lied about it and covered it up. But
I'd like to think that they would have done something like that, even if the fans hadn't, done the justice for Barb thing. But it was definitely awesome to see her get a proper funeral. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure... They did lie about it still a little bit since they watered it down, but like it's close to what happened.
Yeah, I mean, Bowman was right. You got to water it down and make it believable. And so the lie that got told to be believed was that she died from exposure to an experimental chemical asphyxiant, which leaked from the lab.
Yeah, like the floor of the lab. Yeah. And I mean, that's not really what happened, but like, if you call the Demogorgon chemical
asphyxiant.
That.
Yeah. And, in the end, I mean, Bowman was right. Really, what's the goal here? The goal is to make the lab accountable for what has been going on there, and the watered down truth was believable. And so in the end, he was right, and it worked. So good on him.
I thought it was so funny how he was just camping out there, waving everybody like "Bon voyage," and then like one of them is just like flipping him off, and then he's just like "Bye, Felicia."
It was awesome. Again, we're getting to Finn, but before that, Hopper and Dr. Owens have another encounter where Owens presents Hopper.
He's just like, hey, you want part of this? I'm not going to be able to eat it all. And Hopper's just like, no, I'm on a diet. And then like 2 minutes later, he just like starts eating his sandwich.
That's like you. Hey, do you want this? No. 5 seconds later, nom, 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 nom.
That is so true. But yeah, so now Dr. Owens hands Hopper a piece of paper or like a little envelope. And then he opens it and it says, like it's like a birth certificate pretty much for Jane Hopper.
Yeah, so he got
child of Teresa Ives.
She got Hopper's last name, which I guess will help justify him being the legal guardian for her.
Yeah. I'm really happy it turned out like that.
Yeah.
Like at first I was kind of confused and I was like, what? And I was like, oh, so it's like, okay, he pretty much adopted her. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So really, really cool. He asks for one night, and as soon as he says one night,
I was like, snowball!
I know what's happening. Now, I've mentioned all season that I've tried really hard to go spoiler free, and there were some minor spoilers that I got spoiled on. So here were the things that I got spoiled on. After episode 4, someone sent me a Twitter message and said, hey, can I send you a private Twitter message about an opportunity? And I was like, okay. And so this person, I followed them back so they could send me a private message. And the private message was, hey, I just interviewed this scientist from the lab, the person who I don't even know ever had a character name. And he's the guy that gets eaten by the Demodogs.
Bob.
And no, it wasn't Bob. And I was like, when I told you about it, and I thought this guy misspelled Demogorgon. It was probably autocorrect that. And then the more I saw it, I'm like, wait, Demodogs. Oh, I think this means Dart is actually not a Demogorgon, but something called a Demodog. So not a big spoiler, but it did in episode 4. I knew that Demodogs was a thing. Not a big deal.
Do we need Dustin to explain it to you again?
No, I think we got it. And I don't know at what point I learned this. I knew that Lucas and Max would kiss in the final episode.
Yay!
And I knew that 11 and Mike would kiss in the final episode. I found those out at different times. I actually found out about Lucas and Max first.
Yeah.
But it was no surprise. Like when I heard both of those, I was like, yeah, obviously.
Predictable.
Yeah. So those were really the only spoilers that I had all season long. So I was really happy about that. But because of the kissing scenes, I knew that the snowball was also going to be. But again, it was like, well, we all felt really sad that we didn't get the snowball at the end of season 1. So I was really glad that they gave us the snowball at the end of season 2. Now I'm going to be quiet for a while because I would love to hear your take on the snowball.
It was so great. Okay, so if you can't see my note right here, it says yes. Wait, it says yes at the end. Yeah, I was really excited, and then they start playing Jingle Bell Rock, which me and Dad have an inside joke about that. Because okay, so for Christmas last year, it's a 30-minute drive from our house to my grandma's house, which is where we usually have Christmas, but they're moving, so we had it here this year. But yeah, the entire 30 minutes, I was singing like a couple lines from Jingle Bell Rock because that's all I knew. I didn't know like the whole song. So then, yeah, I don't know how you didn't kick me out of the car, but I was singing like 3 lines the entire time.
So here's my side of that story. Okay, I'm going to dad out here for just a minute. I know, you just rolled your eyes. Doing this podcast with you is one of my favorite things. And I think 20 years from now, we'll look back on this podcast that we've done together as one of our, hopefully as a cherished memory. That's what I'm hoping. So I already love doing this podcast with you and talking about this show with you. When they made Jingle Bell Rock such a prominent song here, I was just like, oh, wow, that is such a really cool song choice because of what you just said. Here's my version of that story. Addie and I, it was just the 2 of us last year because your brother was sick and your mom stayed home with him. So it was just the 2 of us, 30-minute car ride to grandma's house, over the river, through the woods. And
not at all.
No. And Addie, you know, the radio's not on. You're just singing the 3 lines of Jingle Bell Rock. And after about the 3rd or 4th time, like we're 2 miles down the road, it's getting on my last nerve. And I think I asked you to stop or kind of indicated, hey, maybe we should sing a different song or something like that.
And I just did it louder.
And yeah, exactly. You were not going to stop singing this song. And so finally, I just thought, you know what? If you can't beat them, join them. And I started singing with you. And so for like the last 20 minutes or so, it was you and I singing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, all the way to grandma's house. And now I look back on that night and we created this great memory, the 2 of us singing Jingle Bell Rock. And now Jingle Bell Rock is kind of, that's our Christmas song.
It's our inside joke. Just like every time we hear the dear, 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 dear,
do, do, do.
Dear, dear, dear. We just like look at each other. We're just like.
So anyway, another dad moment for me as they used this song. So I loved it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Duffer Brothers. I know you did that just for Addie and I.
Yep. Thank you. Shout out to them and Finn Wolford. Yeah. Even though he had nothing to do with it. So, okay. At Joyce's house, it starts with a picture of Bob Newby, superhero, on the buyer's wall. I didn't know if you noticed that or not, but I just put in there.
It was sad. Rip Bob. Literally ripped in pieces.
I hope it doesn't suck.
I hope it doesn't hurt. Anyway, I love this. The moms with their cameras kind of like we got in the Ghostbusters.
It's like the Halloween.
Yeah.
It's like
so funny.
Last year whenever I had the 8th grade social, you were just like taking so many pictures and stuff, and then graduation, more pictures, and then I don't think you did it for the freshman social this year.
Well, for the winter formal we did.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You went over to my friend's house that I was at and started taking pictures of me, like with your good camera, with your phone camera, just like a billion pictures.
All the parents were there doing that, not just us.
Yeah, still.
That's part of being a parent. You'll be like us too one day. Did you notice that Dustin's mom got a new cat?
Yeah, that's my note.
Oh.
Did you notice that Dustin's mom got a new cat? Because I don't think you did. You didn't write your note in there. Only I did.
I thought that was pretty amusing. You know, we should write a song. We should write an entire song themed episode about the cat. It could be a musical.
I'm only laughing because I can hear you laughing silently through the microphone.
So yeah, she got a new cat.
I wonder if she named it Muse.
I don't know.
Not M-U-S-E, M-E-W-S. Got to make sure it's the right way.
Yeah, if it's an awesome British rock band, then it's definitely Muse.
Did you mean really lame British rock band?
No, they're really awesome.
No.
So earlier in the season, you and I had a discussion about whether or not Dustin would take Steve's hair tips and do something different with his hair. And
I knew he would, obviously.
Obviously you did. I thought it would be hilarious if he did and the kids laughed at him. I was wrong. I felt so bad.
I felt so bad for him.
We're going to get there in just a minute, but here we are. He goes and he finds the bag and he pulls out the Farrah Fawcett hair. His hair was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was
so
cool.
Cute.
Yeah. His whole outfit was like spot on. He looked great.
He looked so cute. I would have danced with him.
And then Steve shows up to take him to the dance.
Yeah, and then
to be his ride to the dance, not to take him to the dance. But so Steve sees Nancy through the door, kind of looks at her longingly, and drives off.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad for him. Just like,
too.
I mean, it's a middle school dance, so it's not like he could have gone with her anyway to that specific dance. But
but I mean, I think he's looking at her through the window. She's dolled up because she's dressed up for the dance, and I think he's like, man, I lost her. I blew it. Rip Steve.
I feel kind of bad for him now.
Yeah.
I love how Nancy responds to the boy asking for, asking what's in the punch. Pure fuel. Fuel.
You think she'd want to forget that night when she consumed her own version of the pure fuel?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. They could have some. It could be spiked. The punch could be spiked.
I was gonna say, hopefully that's not the same version of the pure fuel that she's serving to 8th graders. Okay, so Dustin approaches Stacy. Actually, before that, let's see. So Dustin walks in.
They're like, "What happened to your hair?"
Yeah,
I was like, "No, I love his hair. He looks
now this
so
I liked.
cute."
This was what I was looking for. Was his own friends, giving him a hard. That's what friends are for, is to give you a hard time and call you out.
No, but they were serious about it though. It's not like you look like a dork. No, they were like, "Ew, what's wrong with you?"
Yeah, but at the same time, everybody, when you show up for these formals or whatever, you do your hair differently. The boys,
no, I didn't.
Not as much, but actually, you didn't.
No, I
well, your friends did. I think most of the other girls you left with had done something special to their hair.
I think Chloe either curled it or straightened it. I don't remember.
You
Sorry,
do that,
Chloe.
right? You dress differently. Maybe you put on more makeup or whatever, and the boys do too. So that's
the boys put on more makeup.
Yes, I'm just saying you dress different. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. So Dustin then goes over to dance with Stacy. I don't know about you, but I thought she was going to dance with him.
I didn't. I knew the second he walked over there, they're not paying any attention to him. It's not going to happen.
I agree with that. But I thought, you know what? He's confident. He looks good. And the way he just said, let's do this or whatever. You know, it wasn't even a question. It was like when you say you want fries with that, that's not a question. It's like,
give me fries with that.
You want fries with that. It's like a Jedi mind trick. It didn't work. She totally shoots him down, and the girls all laugh and walk off.
I feel so bad for him. And then he gets back up. He's just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna go try with these girls. And they just look at him and walk away.
They don't even give him a chance to speak.
I know, poor Dustin. I feel so bad for him. And then he starts looking around, and then he notices like Max and Lucas dancing together. And then I feel so bad for him. And then he's just the way he's just standing there like all helpless and stuff.
Yeah. And Nancy sees him and finds him crying off to the side.
From her point of view, whenever she's looking at him from across the room, that was like one of the saddest things ever. He looks so heartbroken. I'm like, my poor child.
Yeah.
No.
You remember back in season 1, episode 1, when he's like, Nancy, pizza. Yeah. And she's like, and she gets up and you think she's going to like take the pizza, and then she shuts the door in his face. Yeah. Full circle right here. She's like, you know. And then
I actually did see a screenshot of that. It was a comparison of Nancy and Dustin season 1 and Nancy and Dustin season 2.
Cool.
And it had the pizza scene versus them dancing together.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, she gets out there, she makes sure all the girls that rejected him see her, this beautiful, popular high school girl dancing with the man that they rejected. And then she's helping him, giving him tips and, you know, just being, and she just says very nice, you know, girls at this age are stupid, but, you know, you're going to be all right. You're going to be a heartbreaker or whatever she says to him. Yeah, it's good stuff.
I like how she said that out of all my brother's friends, you're my favorite, and you've always been my favorite.
It was great. Nancy did the rescue.
Yeah.
Outside, Joyce and Hopper share a smoke, which, again, we've seen all these little scenes with them. Now that Bob is dead, a year is going to have gone by at least a year, by the time we see them again, I think.
I really hope they get together. Like, a whole bunch of people are.
I know. Everyone's shipping them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're already together. Like, we pick it up and the relationship has already started.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I was honestly surprised that they weren't together during season 2 at all.
So, the big moment of the episode, Addie, you've got to take this.
Okay. 11 arrives. She like walks in. She's just like looking around for Mike, and then like Mike gets up and he sees her, and then she's like looking around and she sees him, and they just like and then like hug and stuff, and they're just like, do you Mike asks her to dance, and she's like, I don't know how, and I'm like, honestly, me too. Like, that is actually me. If someone ever asks me how to dance or like to dance with them, I'm gonna be like, how? And I loved his response. He was just like, I don't know either. Let's figure it out together. So then they start dancing.
Yeah, I love that line. Let's figure it out, or we'll figure it out together. I just felt like that line right there kind of encapsulates where they're at right now. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know, like, they're in this really weird, awkward stage of their lives, and lots of weird things have happened to them that defy logic, right? But they're just kind of like, you know what? I don't know what the future is, but we'll figure it out together. And I just felt like that line really kind of encapsulates them.
Yeah, go Mike.
Yeah, so really cool scene.
Yeah. So then like they start dancing and stuff, and I love how it showed all 3 of them, like all 3 groups of partners, like separately, just like having their own time. Like Dustin and Nancy, they're just like laughing and stuff, and they're all like in different like emotions. So like they're all happy and like laughing and stuff because, you know, they're not actually together. And then Mike and 11 are just like, I haven't seen you in so long, even though they technically have seen each other, but like that doesn't count. Seeing someone for 5 seconds doesn't count.
Right.
So they're like in this I missed you loving mood, and then Max and not Dustin, Max and Lucas are just like, yeah, you're silly, but I like you. So I think they're all gonna have great relationships. I mean, not Dustin and Nancy in the same way, obviously. But so then Max kisses Lucas, and I think I heard somewhere that they had to redo the scenes so many times. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I think I heard that somewhere. But just like a little fact, Max and Lucas are like the oldest of the group of kids. I mean, obviously not including Steve, but
you mean Sadie and Caleb? You're talking about the actors themselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I know Max is 15. Hold on.
She is.
Well, yeah, I know she is, but
I thought she was younger than that. We were talking about it at dinner tonight, and I was like, no, she's 13. And you were like, no, her character's 13, which I knew that, but I just did not realize Sadie was 15. So.
Oh, yeah. And then Caleb is 16. Okay. So I was surprised that Caleb wasn't the one driving the car.
Yeah. Well, it was Max's brothers. I mean, if someone's going to wreck it, it might as well be her family. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, because they're the two oldest, and then they got together. So, yeah, I'm kind of happy about that.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, so then Mike and Elkis, which I'm not really surprised about that, but I've seen, it was like an interview with like Finn, but you can see Mike moving his mouth right before he kisses Elle, and I don't remember what he said exactly, but it was somewhere along the lines of "I'm going in," or like I'm about to kiss you or something. Yeah, because I love how awkward Finn and Millie are in real life, but like their characters are just like on point.
Yeah,
this is why you ship the characters, not the actors. People, just like I loved it because. Yeah. You don't notice it at first, but after watching that interview, it's extremely apparent that you can see his lips moving.
I have to go back and watch that then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. It was a great ending. I mean, if the episode had ended right there, I would have had no problems with the season ending that way. I did think that the season would end on a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah, I'm
given
surprised
that they knew
didn't.
that it had been renewed. Yeah, I mean, okay. So what happens after that? Well, the gym flips to the upside down. You see the shadow monster kind of brooding over it. But
the shadow monster scares me. I mean, not like scares me, but it's just like, ooh, it's like way more intense than like a 6 foot tall Demogorgon.
Yeah.
It's like huge, and it's like through the air and not just lights. It's
different. I mean, in the trailers and everything leading up to the season, the shadow monster was kind of off in the distance, right?
Yeah, and it's now, right
there. And I think that's different. It's like it's just mad, and it's like focusing on like, how can I get back at this group of people that are in this building right here? So I don't know. I guess we're going to get more Shadow Monster in season 3, maybe?
I guess so.
I don't know.
I think they could have had a bigger cliffhanger. That's like the one thing I was kind of disappointed about.
Yeah.
But still, anyway, should we go to the episode rating?
Yeah, let's go to the episode rating. Well, before we do that, I just want to say, speaking of things that were spoilers for me, several times throughout the season, I had these crazy, outlandish predictions about Max. And I said that it was the game, the mobile app that, I thought was spoilery. And someone on Facebook about 3 weeks ago was like, Daryl, I don't know what you're talking about. In the mobile game, Max throws coins. And I remember I read that and I'm like, nuh-uh. And I pulled up the app and I played as Max, and sure enough, she throws coins. And I'm like, that is not what I remember. And so I went over to YouTube and I pulled up a video that was of someone doing a walkthrough play-by-play of the game that was taken the day the game came out, October 27th. Or the update for the game, the season 2 update for the game. And sure enough, in that game, now that we're through with the season, I want to talk about this. Max's gift, or her ability, is called a psychic blast, in which she delivers a swift psychic attack. So I don't know what happened here. At one point when the season 2 update was first released, Max has a psychic blast as her attack. And at some point it was changed to she throws coins at you. Throwing coins makes a whole lot more sense giving her characters love for the arcade that we've seen. So that's what was throwing me off and what I based some of these outlandish theories on. I'm glad I was wrong on the one hand, although I kind of hope that this is maybe
the game explains what happened.
Huh?
The game explains what happened.
What do you mean?
Like the game makers explain why they had it like that.
Are you saying that you want that, or they did do that?
No, I'm saying I hope the game makers explain why they gave her two different powers.
Yeah, or I hope that maybe in season 3 we see something like this. I think it would be awesome if Max had those abilities.
No, I want her to be just a normal character.
I don't have any problem with her being normal either. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there. That threw me for a loop. Maybe it threw you for a loop too. But if you're wondering where in the world I come up with these outlandish theories, and I did say several times the game spoiled me, and this is where I'm getting these ideas and basing some of these ideas. So there you go. But now that the season's over, I couldn't kind of reply to that in the podcast because I didn't want to spoil anybody that, Anyway, now that the season's over, there you go. Addie, what's your episode rating?
10 million awkward dances.
You mean 10 million? Million?
Yeah, I get it.
Million? Okay.
I know. I said I get it.
Yeah, I know. I gave it 9. It wasn't 8.5. On rewatch, I bumped it up to a 9. Space heaters. Not like outer space, but you got it.
Whenever you first said space heaters, I thought you said space eaters, and I was like, is that a game they play, or?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's move into listener feedback.
I did not dance to that at all again. Wow.
I didn't either.
That's surprising. You always do.
All right. You want to take the first one?
Sure. So this one comes in from Ben T. Hey guys, Ben for the final episode 9. Now again, a quick thing that will bring my first feedback to this one. I like how both season final episodes have a 1 month later tag at the end. Now 11 closing the gate was boss as heck. Yeah. Anyway, I, like probably both of you, am excited for season 3, and until then, stay strange. You stole it again.
Thanks, Ben. All right, we got some audio in. This comes in from Michael.
Oh, wait. Oh, wait, I gotta stop wrong podcast. That was not right. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Turn this up. Yes. I sat down in June to have lunch, and I said, I can't believe there isn't a podcast, or maybe there's a ton of podcasts on Stranger Things. And the fact that season 2 is coming out, I thought I'd look. When I saw Golden Spiral Media was on there, I said, I'm not sure if that's Daryl or someone else, but I gotta look. To my surprise, it was Daryl and Addie. And I have to tell you, the father-daughter mix has done nothing but put a smile on my face. So I can't thank you guys enough for not only making my summer week to week while I got caught up on Stranger Things 2, and I was able to now go week to week, although, Daryl, I will tell you, I had to binge watch like Addie. I couldn't relax and go week to week. I don't know how you did it. I'm so impressed. And then I also just wanted to thank you for the free game, Stranger Things. When you said it on the podcast in June, I said there's no way that there's a free game, and it always costs me at least $50, $60 because I'm not all that good. but it's been a true free game. And I walk around and talk to my wife saying, I can't believe I'm actually playing a free game. And I'm 8 hours into it, and I'm on, I think, 5. So thank you guys so much. And again, Daryl and Addie, keep it strange, girl.
That was great. I like how you had the Fringe music at the beginning.
Yeah, well, Michael was a huge supporter in more ways than one of our Fringe podcast. I mean, even back like when we had this dream of going to San Diego Comic-Con, he stepped in financially and helped make that dream a reality for the first time. And he was just always a big supporter, a big cheerleader for our podcast. And when we were just getting started, and so he believed in us in ways that very few people did. So to have him, joining in and lending his voice to this podcast is really cool. So Michael, thanks for your support all these years. And, this is a very special podcast for me, and hopefully Addie thinks so too. All right. Well, let's move on to some written feedback. This one comes in from Nathaniel. He says, now we get to my favorite episode of the season. The character moments are so satisfying and heartwarming. The season closes pretty much like the last one, with very few hanging threads, which I'm grateful for. No crazy cliffhangers to bug us for another 15 months. There is justice for Barb. Dr. Owens turns out to be a good guy, or is he? And we end with Jane Hopper. I'm so glad we will see Elle and Hopper continue as father and daughter. Here's some of my favorite moments in the episode. It was pointed out to me during the fight between Mike and Hopper at the beginning that Hopper is probably holding Mike more tightly than Mike's father ever has. Wow, that's a great point. Whoa. So a big heartbreaker right there. Next, Steve. Season 2 has Steve moving from loving boyfriend to accidental babysitter. This episode, he has become a mother, complete with dish towel over the shoulder. That's true. The meme goldmine that comes from Steve, loving mother of 6, is a vast expanse of quality memes. I mean, memes.
You already said memes.
But seriously, I love the mentor/bro relationship between Steve and Dustin. He's another character who we see without a good fatherly influence in his life, and Steve looks like he's going to be that influence for Dustin. And we can't talk favorite moments without talking about the snowball. Everything involving the snowball is amazing. Although I can't imagine what was going through Mr. Clark's head when he saw Mike and his Swedish cousin Eleanor kissing. That's a great point again. Nathaniel, you bring in your A game here. That thought never occurred to me. They have different customs in Sweden. Okay. Speaking of 11, did you notice what she's wearing on her wrist? An eagle-eyed fan saw a blue hair tie bracelet. Looking back at both seasons, Hopper is wearing the same bracelet throughout. Finally, Sarah is seen with the same blue hair tie when she gets her first panic attack. So Hopper wore his daughter's hair tie when she couldn't use it anymore. He wore it as a memorial to Sarah after she died, and he passed it on to his new daughter, 11. Props to the Duffer Brothers on such a subtle but deep detail.
This dude is good at feedback.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. And again, just points to the rewatch value, which we're going to be doing a rewatch during the off season. So good stuff. Okay. He goes on to say, if you haven't noticed already, I get way too deep into theories and speculation. So here's another one. When Elle and Hopper find Owens in the lab, he's scratched up, but not seriously injured or dead. Is that a coincidence, or is there something more sinister going on here? I personally don't believe Owens is bad, but who knows? Maybe he struck a deal with the Mind Flayer, or maybe the Demodogs were called away just as they got to him, sparing him from death. Sparing his life from this monstrosity. Easy,
please stop.
Easy go. Who knows? That's what he says. Who knows?
Oh, that Panic at the Disco song.
Stop talking. This season is a wonderful continuation of the first. I loved it all, and I'm so sad we'll have to wait another year, at least, for season 3. But that's what rewatches are for, I guess. Thanks for the analysis, and I look forward to the off-season episodes. Well, Nathaniel, we're doing some rewatching during the off-season, as I said, and some roundtables, and all listeners, including yourself, are invited to be a part of those. If you want to be a part of those, if you want to put your name in the hat to be a part of those, then just email us feedback@goldenspiralmedia.com. Use the subject line, Stranger Things Rewatch or something like that. It comes straight to me, and I'll make sure I get you on the list. So when the time comes for those, I can reach out to you and help you be a part of those. So as I said, Nathaniel or anyone listening can be a part of those. And we've got some folks lined up already. So looking forward to doing those.
Did we announce that last week too?
We did. We sure did. All right. Moving back to audio feedback. Here's Justina.
Hi, Daryl and Addie. Thank you so much for letting me take this strange journey with you. It has been so much fun. This episode gets 10 out of 10. Lucky Dustin had 3 Musketeers in his pocket. This week's poll question is for absolutely everyone. Let me know what you think. The question is, which season of Stranger Things did you think was better? Season 1? Season 2? Or you simply can't decide? Please go cast your vote and have a great week. And thanks again for letting me hang out in Hawkins with you.
Ooh, good question. And thank you, Justina, for all the work. Justina not only puts together the poll question of the week, she writes our blog post every week for this as well. So she's working to do great stuff behind the scenes. I mean, that's visible, so it's not all behind the scenes, but I don't know that it's easier to appreciate the work that she does. So thank you, Justina, for all the work that you're doing and for calling in your feedback pretty much every week. So thank you for that. What do you think, Addie? First season or second season better?
I don't know. I really like both because with the first season, I don't know. I love the entire first season, obviously. I love it because that's when I started being obsessed, as you people call it, with it. But I don't know. Now with the season 2, I mean, at first I was kind of skeptical. Like the whole time I was like on edge watching season 1 because I was like, oh, what if it's scary? And then the season 2, I was like, oh wait, what if this season's scary? But obviously it wasn't at all. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I'm not a big person with change. And I was like, I love season 1 as it is. I mean, there are cliffhangers and I need a second season, but I hope they don't change a lot of things. But I like it. I like the second season too. So I don't know. I can't decide. I like both of them.
Okay. For now, I'm going to say season 1 is better. But now that we've finished the season and I can go and binge season 2, we'll see. That may change. All right, we got some great conversations and feedback on Facebook. Addie, do you want to start this thread?
No, I was going to say you can start it. I want to be Gerald Darnell.
Okay. So Addie would like for me to start it so she can be me again. I know, she likes being me. Can't say I blame her. Kelly says, okay, I know this is probably crazy and fan wanky, but it's fun to think about. So, at the very ending shot of the snowball, you see the school in 1984. There are early 80s model cars in the parking lot. As it transitions into the upside down, the car in the parking lot is from the early 50s. Coincidence? I did a little mental math, and perhaps Joyce, Hopper, etc. were students at Hawkins Middle School in 1955. And what is more 1985 than a trip back to 1955? Great Scott. Talking about the Back to the Future timeline there. You know what? That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I don't look at cars. I mean, I'm shopping for them, but I don't know the years. So buying cars is stressful.
You've got some time to keep saving before you're ready for that. But she has officially started her I'm saving for a car fund, which is kind of scary and exciting.
After I buy some room decor and a Polaroid. Yeet. So then Daryl Darnell says, I didn't notice that. I'll pay closer attention when I rewatch it this week.
And then Kelly replied and said, I had to go back and make sure Netflix won't let me screenshot it on my phone or I would take a picture, which is what Addison was talking about earlier.
So then Ryan says, that's fascinating and could open up so many possibilities. I'm going to rewatch the finale and take a look.
And then Katie says that is kind of similar to the plot of the book It. Currently reading the book, and there are quite a few transitions from the 50s to the 80s as It reappears again then. I don't know if it has any relevance to the plot of season 3, but really interesting and maybe another Easter egg like Mr. Baldo.
Yeah.
So
I've been wanting to read that book. My friend is reading it, and then after that, one of his parents is reading it, and he said after they're done, I get to read it. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to look. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. I don't know, but that's an interesting idea for sure.
So then, Adam says, do you think they will ever explain the Upside Down specifically? Was it recently created? Because I always think, where do the buildings and cars come from? We haven't seen any humans there. It looks like it's a mirror image, but not that this dimension is split off into a separate path, say in the 70s, and everything started to decay. You have the arcade in the Upside Down, and the middle school at the end of the final episode has what looks like the same Christmas lights in the windows.
So do you think they'll explain it? The origins of it?
I don't know. Maybe it was a place, and then like whenever 11 was born, like that had something to do with it. Because she was born in the 70s.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it seems to me, and Edison, I think I got this from you, that back in season 1, somewhere I heard that the Duffer Brothers had a whole book about the Upside Down and
I don't remember
how to
that.
explain it and something like that. So maybe I'm imagining that, or I don't know.
There could be.
Yeah.
I mean, there were several books about like the games that they were playing in the show.
Yeah. And then Ben Crane came and he said, loved this finale, not as unpredictable as the penultimate. You're welcome, Addie. But so heartfelt. Great way to wind down, catch our breath, and reflect on the season. Too powerful. 11 high fives equals 10 out of 10 for me. You guys mentioned it will be 2019 before we get season 3. Is there a reason for the wait? I can't wait to hear your thoughts and follow along with the rewatch. I don't know that we've ever heard anything official as to why, other than they're just taking their time to make sure they get it done right, the right way.
Yeah, probably. But season 2 was supposed to be released in like June or July, and then they moved it to Halloween, and they moved it back to the 27th.
Yeah, that's true.
So then Stephanie says, there's so much I love about this episode. I've watched it more times than any of the others. So many fantastic moments and scenes that just gave me chills. It's ridiculous how romantic I found the reunion of 11 and Mike. I mean, they're just kids. Of course, I loved seeing Elle reunite with Hopper and everyone else. Her return is like putting in the final piece of a puzzle. All is right once again. Mike's anger when confronting Hopper about keeping Elle hidden anyway was intense. Almost a year's worth of fear and concern exploding from him all at once.
That's a good point.
The group comes up with a possible way to defeat the Mind Flayer when the Byers family and Hopper leave to carry out their separate missions. There doesn't seem to be much hope of success. And what was with the sullen look on Max's face? Loved how Elle and Hopper's conversation in the truck starts with a hilarious take on any parent's nightmare when Elle tells Hopper how she got to her mom's house. It bothered me that Elle leaves out her trip to meet Callie. Is she protecting Callie from Hopper or vice versa? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too.
I thought it was weird. The tempo of the background music as Mike and the other kids come up with a plan to help 11 get to the gate really makes it feel like they're starting to make some progress, except for Steve trying to stop them. Unfortunately, Billy's arrival gets rid of that obstacle. It's the only useful thing he's ever done. Yeet. And Max gets to be awesome. Although I didn't think it will change Billy in the long run, that guy is just a sociopath. I thought Jonathan's concern that Joyce might inadvertently go too far in trying to get the Mind Flayer to release its hold on Will was pretty understandable. She really did seem consumed by her anger. And I was impressed at the display of emotional vulnerability we saw from Jonathan when he clung to Nancy for support while Will was suffering. Most male characters, and men in our society for that matter, are only allowed to express feelings like that when no one else is around. Yeah, I totally agree with the Jonathan. Like, I noticed that he was holding on to Nancy, and they're all, like, sweaty and gross.
Yeah, that's true.
When Hopper was binding up Dr. Owen's leg on the staircase while at the same time asking for help so that 11 could live a normal life, I got the impression that Elle might be comparing the situation to the way Callie chose to deal with the people from the lab, and coming to a conclusion about which method she preferred. The music when the kids and Steve are pouring gas all over the vines and the hub is fabulous. And then there's just one heart-pounding moment after another until finally Will is free and the way is clear for Hopper and 11 to get to the gate. When 11 is fighting against the Mind Flayer while trying to close the gate, she thinks about the things Callie told her, like channeling anger to access her power. Still not sure that's a great idea. And also what Callie said using the vision of Dr. Brenner about 11 having a festering wound. Well, the gate kind of looks like a gaping wound. Maybe Elle is thinking that by sealing the gate, she'll be healing herself in some way. And then the snowball. Everything that happens before, during, and after it is completely fantastic. But the two best parts are definitely Nancy coming to Dustin's rescue by asking him to dance, and everything with Mike and 11. I especially liked the way Elle walking through the gym door with Mike watching her was kind of the opposite of what happened in episode 3, when Elle just looked through the gym door from the outside and Mike suspected she was there but missed seeing her. Of course, it can be a completely happy end, but the Mind Flayer is still out there, and definitely seems to be targeting our favorite D&D party members. Anyway, I wrote way too much, but it was a fabulous episode. 2019 can't get here soon enough. From Steph.
Yeah, lots of great thoughts, Steph. Thank you for sharing those. It seems weird to say 2019. I mean, I know as when we're recording this, we're just a few days away from, less than a week away from 2018. But still, no matter way you look at it, 2019 is over a year away, and it's going to be a long wait. Glad we have all of you to share it with, though.
Oh, you're so nice and heartwarming.
Well, I mean, that's the way we're going to get through it is, by continuing to talk about the show together. So we would still love to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your thoughts about any specific episode or season 2. If you've got some thoughts on season 1, the series as a whole, predictions, you want to, predictions on season 3, or maybe what you hope happens or doesn't happen in season 3. All thoughts and feedback options are on the table. And you can do that by visiting, Addie, you just talked a lot. Would you like for me to give the feedback information?
No.
You're going to do it. All right.
So you can follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram is this Stranger Things GSM. Our Twitter is Upside Down GSM. And our Facebook is www.facebook.com/groups/Stranger Things GSM. And now for the quote of the week.
Wait, you didn't give the other stuff above that. You skipped a line.
Oh, you can also send in your feedback through our phone number, which is 304-837-2278, or our feedback page, which is goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback.
Indeed. And now.
So the quote of the week, I don't really have just one. It's more like a clip of the week.
Yeah, and this is a specific scene we didn't talk about in our conversation. I mean, we talked about generally what was happening, but not this specific scene. It was great. Here it is.
Hey, want to dance? We should, get out there. Like, do our thing. Stop. I love this song. You?
Yeah, I love it. But not as much as I love you, Lukey.
Get out of my room!
Caleb was awesome in that scene. I can't imagine I mean, I guess as an actor, you practice in front of the mirror to help yourself to know what your facial expressions are, how to feel those facial expressions, and not just think you're doing something that maybe you're not. I've heard that actors do that, but still, I would think that performing in front of a mirror, because not only do you have like the cast and all the people who are there working to make that scene, you have to perform in front of them, but now you're performing in front of a mirror too. I don't know. I just think that would be doubly hard, but he was awesome. I'm glad you chose this scene.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
I thought it was so funny. He's just like, I like how he like whispers stop to himself. I thought that was so funny.
That was my...
It's like me when I do something stupid. I'm just like, stop.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, time for some news. So we have two different news items. We try to bring two each week. Sometimes we bring more. But this first one, the title is Stranger Things star David Harbour on season 3, his, quote, dad bod, and how he'll top that SAG Awards speech from last year. This is from Variety. And a portion, I'm just going to read a couple of portions of it. So this is an interview they did with David Harbour as a setup. Now back in New York, having recently wrapped production on Hellboy in Bulgaria, which David Harbour joked, "It was hard. I'm 40 years old and I'm running around punching giants." Well, he sat down to talk with Variety about his plans for another moment at the mic should they win another SAG award, as well as getting back his dad bod shape and that dancing Hopper gif that went viral.
That was so funny. The dancing.
It was funny, yeah. I saw that before I knew what scene to put it with, and so when I saw it, I was like, oh, it makes much more sense now. That one in the Lucas blowing kisses, yeah, I saw that meme before, or GIF before. I said Lucas, I meant Dustin blowing kisses to his mom. Oh,
I was like, I don't remember that.
That's when he's like, all right, see you, Mom, when he's trying to get her out of the house so he can bury Muse. Bye, love you. Anyway, here we go. Question number 1. Again, there's a whole lot more to this interview over at Variety.com. They ask him, what do you want to see happen in season 3? He says, I've been pretty vocal about how I love the dynamic between Joyce and Hopper, which I don't feel like we got a lot of time to explore in season 2. I just love that dynamic of these two lost people. I equate it to Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway in Chinatown, or Indiana Jones and Marion in Raiders of the Lost Ark. These great throwback, they hate each other but love each other kind of tropes. It's done so sophisticatedly by the Duffers, and Winona is really game for it too. We love playing scenes with each other. I would love more stuff with her. That's a feasible one. And then there's stuff that I don't think is feasible, but I do think the internet knows my love for Joe Keery. I would love to see a Hopper and Steve get together, but I seriously doubt that's going to happen. I'd love to work with Gaten. I want to get into the backstory of Hopper more. When Eleven goes into the basement, she sees a bunch of boxes, one of which says Hawkins Lab, Dad, Vietnam, New York. There's a lot of story we can get into around Hopper's time as a cop in New York, Hopper's time in Vietnam. I would love to see more of that, but we have a ton of great characters, so I don't know how much they'll be able to do. And then they ask, you had to get into shape for Hellboy, but will you be getting your famous dad bod back? And he says, I've already started the donut training. 6 donuts a day. We'll get there, folks. That's Addie's kind of training. She has a weakness for donuts.
Yep.
And nougat. And then they said, that Hopper dancing gif has gone viral. Was that scripted or improvised in the moment? And he says, that was ad-libbed. Director Sean Levy and I have different memories of this. I chose the song, and I remember him saying, put on the music. But I said, Sean, I want to dance. I know it's going to be weird, but I want to do it. I think one of the reasons why it works is because Hopper is such a serious, sensitive, dark dude. He's not normally a dancer. That's what I found compelling about it. So on the day, it was just us playing around. They said, we don't even know if we'll use it. We'll probably cut away. And then when they were in the editing room, it became this thing. So again, a whole lot more to that interview over at Variety.com.
David Harbour is 42 and Winona is 46.
Oh, do you know how old I am?
41.
41. Am I as cool as Hopper is?
No, because he's 42.
Oh.
Even at 42, you're still not going to be cool. Oh, cool. He was born in 1975. There's a band called the 1975. Wait.
I was born in 76, so that would make sense. Okay, you want to take the next item?
Stranger Con is coming to Chicago. It's Saturday and Sunday, June 23rd and 24th, 2018. Stranger Things captured everyone's attention when it debuted in 2016 with amazing performances, intriguing mystery, and its Steven Spielberg / Stephen King vibe. Drawing on 80s culture, horror, and the all too familiar experiences of being a nerdy kid, the show managed to be fresh and exciting while feeling familiar and relatable. There's no way we at Creation will ever look at Christmas lights the same way again.
And obviously, based on that sentence, this is text we pulled straight from their website. The people who are putting the con together.
Yeah. We couldn't be more excited to bring you StrangerCon in Chicago, a convention that celebrates a show we love so much and the people who make it what it is. Headlined by breakout star Millie Bobby Brown, we bring you the stars of Stranger Things off the screen and in person for 2 days of full of excitement, music, and fun. Meet your favorite actors from Stranger Things and interact with them in ways you never thought possible. Don't worry, we didn't invite the Demogorgon or the Shadow Monster. This convention is different from any you've ever been to before. We guarantee you a seat to see all the stars. There's no camping out or hoping just to catch a glimpse. Your only concern is having the time of your life alongside them. Current confirmed guests are Millie Bobby Brown, Noah Schnapp, Joe Keery, and Shannon Purser.
So if you're like us and you waited in line forever at the San Diego Comic-Con panel only to miss out on it by a couple of hundred people and run around trying to get a glimpse of them when they were on the IMDb or the IMD boat.
Yeah. I saw, okay, so funny story. I was scrolling through my Instagram feed and I saw a video of Finn on the IMD boat and we were like 50 feet away from it. So I like sprinted over there and he wasn't there.
No, he'd already gone. It sounds like that last paragraph was written just to us. So this is June 23rd and 24th in Chicago. Unfortunately, Addie and I will not be able to be there. We leave for Guatemala on June 24th, very, very early in the morning. So.
Wait, what do you mean very early? What time?
Like last year, we left at like 4 in the morning.
Can we just stay up?
Well, there's no way we can pull it off. So, unfortunately, if this were any other weekend, just about, there's 2 weekends back to back because we're in Guatemala for 7 full days. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Anyway, we wanted to let you guys know, I know some of you live in Chicago. Hannah, I'm thinking about you specifically, and I know you're not alone. So anyway, if you're in Chicago, or maybe you want to make your way to Chicago, June 23rd and 24th, the link for this is really kind of a weird link. I mentioned Creation was the company. So Creation ENT, like creationentertainment.com is the website. And then you can kind of hunt around through their events menu to find this one. So
the exact website is www.creationit.com/cal/stranger_chicago.htm.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, hopefully some of you will be able to make it and have a good time.
I really want to go.
All right. I do too. Addie, you know what that means? It's time.
It's time for the meme of the week. Every time I hear that, I just think of you playing it over and over and over and over and over again.
Just once this week, because this episode is way long already. So I'm really intrigued by this meme, Addie. I said in the top of the show, I'm pronouncing meme of the week properly this week just because I'm intrigued by this meme you've chosen. So tell us about it.
Okay, so the caption is me after seeing Steve Harrington's development as a character. And the picture is a picture of Steve when he's getting ready to go to like apologize to Nancy, it says, "I love you. I'm sorry."
So it's him holding the bouquet of
the
roses.
flowers that Dustin finesses.
So are you saying that this is what you're saying? If you could see Steve right now, you would say, after seeing your development as a character, "I love you, I'm sorry"? Are you officially coming out as acknowledging your Team Steve?
No. I don't hate him anymore.
Hey, that's progress, folks.
He's an all right character.
Okay.
He's not Billy, though.
Well...
Okay, fine. He's better than Billy.
Yes, he is. Hey, that's significant.
He's better than Ted. He's better than Lonnie.
That's significant. That's significant progress, folks. We'll take that. That'll end us on a positive note. We do want to hear your, again, thoughts on the whole season or season 1, the series as a whole, predictions or hopes for season 3. Lay them all on us. We'll be in touch once a month through the off season. So again, stay connected with us. Addison, why don't you give them the information they need to send us in feedback or connect with us on social media?
So you can send in your feedback through our phone number, 304-837-2278, or our feedback page, which is goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback. And you can keep the conversation going on social media, because our Instagram is Stranger Things GSM, our Twitter is Upside Down GSM, and our Facebook is www.facebook.com/Stranger Things GSM.
All right. Well, Addie, season 2 has been a lot of fun.
Yeet.
I'm looking forward to doing some more stuff with you. Oh, and by the way, if you're a fan of the X-Files, we did, not Addie and I, me and a friend of mine named Chip. A lot of you friends or listeners may know Chip, who is Kenilwolf23. He also has a podcast called Watching the Americans and another podcast called Tales from the Cask.
I know him, right?
You do. Yep. Yeah. We spent some time with him when we were at San Diego Comic-Con, quite a bit of time with he and his wife, Sarah. Anyway, Chip and I are teaming up again to bring another episode of We Still Believe, an X-Files podcast, which the next season of that is starting January 3rd. So next week. Holy cow, that's crazy. So join us for that if you're looking for some more on that. And whenever we talk to you again, thanks for joining us for this season. And as always,
stay strange.